Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.
Hello everyone, good evening and welcome along to another episode of the Scottish Football Social Club on Premier Sports in association with McBookie. Just 16 more sleeps, Al, apparently, just 16 more sleeps. Or, as the countdown Michael's on, just 3 more episodes of the Social Club because he loves it that much. Are you ready for Christmas, Michael?
Yeah, clearly not as ready as you, though. You've turned your camera around just to show everyone the Christmas tree's up, Darrell.
I'll be honest, I just needed a different background. I don't have a house the size of yours, Michael. You can pick a different room every week. I've only got a few. And as your approach to Michael, I can only imagine, by the way, Al, but as your approach to buying Christmas presents, is it similar to your approach to punditry?
What is that, Darrell? What is that?
Aggressive, divisive, upsetting some people.
The day before then, Christmas Eve, just batter
it. I'm not ready. Alan, are you? You prepared?
My approach to Christmas presents is very different from a punditry. I don't have a view on it. I have no opinion. I just let my wife sort it out.
Can't believe that.
That's very much like myself. Don't have an opinion on it.
Stay out of it. What you like is it as a receiver of gifts, Al, because honestly, mate, I am terrible. I can't hide it. If you know, I want to show gratitude, but I just can't hide it if I don't want it.
I get your point. I mean, me and Kylie, we've for years now not really got each other in, and it's just kind of focused on the kids, to be fair. So yeah, sometimes you get a pair of socks for a family member or whatever, or chocolates you don't like, and you have to, oh, thank you, thanks very much. But I'm giving it away now, so if they see that in future, they'll know I'm not happy.
Me too. Can you imagine, Michael, though, if you get my stinking present? Can you imagine?
It would tell you right there and then. Not having that, not happy.
Is it true?
Not at all. Not at all. Well, listen to used to. Jesus, there's so much Christmas spirit there, isn't there?
Look, I like giving presents.
All right. Oh, yeah.
That's what it's all about for me. But my daughter shares my birthday as well, so I've lost Christmas a few years ago and my birthday, so I've got absolutely no chance. Anyway, there you go. Should we go into the real stuff? On to football.
Let's do it.
I know last week it was your birthday, Alan. We started in Rangers, but we can't do that for you every week. So I'll have to start on Celtic this time around, Michael.
Oh, that's one week when we should.
Well, listen, it's a big week for Rangers, and we will come to that. But we'll start with the team who are leading the league, in case you've lost sight of that, Alan, and that is Celtic, who won again.
Well, he's lost sight of a lot. A week that he's just had, celebrating that 40th over in Vegas.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything about Vegas, but if you want to go there, you can.
No, I'm not going any further.
I didn't think so. I don't think he slept much, put it that way. Right, come on, let's go on to the games. Michael, let's start with Celtic. It was 3-0 against Hibs. It doesn't tell the full story. We were talking last week on the high Bs and slightly more positive signs. I know it's another defeat, but they had lots of chances at Celtic Park. I watched the game. I did feel if Celtic needed to step up a gear, perhaps, Michael, they could have found it, but still defensively, some question marks. All in saying that, they got the job done.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's quite a few different sort of narratives to the game, and I'm pretty sure, depending on what persuasion you are, you can look upon it, in a completely different light. From Celtic's perspective, first of all, I think that you're right. It's a comfortable victory in the end. It's 3-0. They had plenty of chances to score more as well, and it did feel like if they needed to, they could have continued to press the issue that bit more. But incidents like this that you're just seeing, Cadden eventually with a strike, Youhan getting slipped in off of a wee short back pass from Luke McKeown.
What about this finish?
Oh, it's sensational.
The touch and it's ridiculous.
I mean, but this goal was indicative of what Brendan Rodgers was talking about before the game. You see, I think it's Triantis taking too many touches, Celtic pouncing on him, 3 or 4 players winning it back, countering quickly, and it's a great finish. But even after the game, that was what Brendan Rodgers was talking about, that the pressing wasn't what he expects. And that was probably what he was suggesting led to quite a few of the chances that Hibs created. Because a lot of them, when you look at it, it's 1v1, 2v2 at the back, and Hibs are running through big gaping holes in the Celtic defence. So you start to think to yourself, why is that? And perhaps Brendan Rodgers got a point, that they were just that yard or two off when they've got that many bodies forward, that they weren't winning the ball back quickly and they were being exposed at the back. So, Hibs' perspective, lots of positives, yes, but their season's always just on a knife edge here because of where they are, because there's, they're languishing at the bottom of the table. Yes, the last 3 performances have been better. They've picked up 4 points out of those possible 9. Next game against Ross County is massive for them, huge, as is the next few, because you've got Aberdeen away, Hearts away, and I think it's Kilmarnock at home. The next 4 up until the new year. I think we'll get a better idea of where Hibs are going to be after those 4 games.
Absolutely right. As for Celtic, the fact that Schmeichel was man of the match at Celtic Park, I think that says a lot about the kind of display it was, Alan. And also Carter Vickers, Michael mentioned defensive maybe issues or frailties because Hibs were in behind a few times.
Yep.
No Carter Vickers, and Scales and Trusty have looked good at times together, including in the Champions League when they had to be paired. Atalanta away, I think they started and they got the clean sheet that day. But no Carter Vickers, who was colossal against Aberdeen, the fixture prior. He's always going to be a huge miss, isn't he? Leadership at the back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're just probably managing these minutes. He's had a couple of injuries this season and they'll just be careful. I think they looked a little bit ragged as a back line. For me, at times were very high. Scales get dragged out a couple of times. Hibs managed to get in behind. There was 5 changes. So it can happen, even though the strength and depth that Celtic have is there for all to see. But I think this is something, even though Hibs conceded the 3 goals, they will take a lot of positives out of it. You think back to the Aberdeen game, 3-3, then the Motherwell performance. Going into this, they've shown that they can go there and create opportunities. Defensively, yes, they'll have to be better. But as Michael rightly says, going into the next fixtures coming up that they have, if they can take that momentum into those and the confidence, then hopefully they'll be able to get something out of it.
Yeah,
I was just wanting to ask Cuts a question there. Seeing the business class flights, did you get the games streamed live?
I had a lot of making up to do this morning. I'll have, I watched a lot of football this morning. I'll tell you that right now.
With the sunglasses still on, by the way.
Right, Michael, enough of that. We've moved on. It's happened. It's past.
What happens in Vegas and all that. Michael, we talked a lot about the Celtic midfield last week on the show, and it was Engels starting again, got his goal, could have got another one in the game, but positives from him too. McCowan playing once more. The flexibility Brendan Rodgers has is amazing, and 2 more massive games ahead this week as well, starting with the early kickoff in Zagreb against Dinamo. You can chop and change, and this is a great luxury, a great problem to have, if you like.
It definitely is. And I mean, look, you think, just looking at the bigger picture for Celtic in regards to, we're already recognising and talking about the strength that they've got in the middle of the park. On the biggest stage in Europe, they're doing well. Rewind to the summer there, they sell one of their best assets, Matt O'Reilly, and it's been seamless. They've brought in Luke McCowan, they've brought in Engels, and they have probably greater strength and depth there this season than they did last season. So that shows you how you create longevity and sustainability, really, because you're making a profit and continuing to progress as a club. So it's a very, very well-oiled machine. Specifically about the midfield, there is no doubt that there's good competition for places. And I said, last week as well, I don't have any concerns about Engels because we've already seen the quality he had when he first joined. And I think just that little spell where he's not started every game in the last couple of weeks has helped him, because I think he was good against Hibs, scored a good goal, good timing into the run, into the box, nice finish. And I think his performances will continue to improve. Midweek, it's a big one for Brendan Rodgers. Who does he go with? I do genuinely believe that Luke McCowan is getting closer to. I don't think he will start. I think Engels will start alongside McGregor and Hatate. But I think Luke McCowan's getting very close to getting into a European team.
We shouldn't forget what Brendan Rodgers said when he signed Engels. It actually signed him for games like these Champions League games when they need his energy and his power as well. And look, there's some question marks over his form, but Brendan certainly stuck with him on the biggest nights. And Dinamo Zagreb look as if they're in a bit of a mess right now, Alan. Loads of players out injured. The fans have written an open letter. The club, I should say, have written an open letter to the fans explaining what's going on, but there's confidence that they can move ahead. You've just got to be careful, because I've seen all this before, and Celtic's away form in Europe isn't wonderful. I think it's like 1 win in 20 games. Dinamo won well against Slovan Bratislava last time. So despite everything else, you've just got to be careful on the road in Europe, don't you?
Of course, but I think Celtic, or any other team for that matter, is not going to go into that and be naive thinking they're just going to have to turn up. It's always going to be difficult, no matter the circumstances of the team that you're playing are in. So they'll be wary, of course, but I think Celtic will go in with good confidence. They've done well so far this season. And when you look at it, I think it's like 2 points off 8th. Monaco is sitting at this moment in time. It's very tight. So if they go away and get a good result, then they'll be sitting in a right good position.
Yeah, and then they've got Young Boys at home next, and then Villa to finish. And if they need Villa to finish in the top 8, what a way that would be to end. Celtic fans will certainly be hoping that that's the case. They could get into the top 8. Let's move on to the Dons. Aberdeen won, St Johnstone won, Michael, at the weekend. Aberdeen are dropping a lot of points. But watching that game against Celtic midweek prior, there's still a lot to like about what Jimmy Tillene and his side are doing. But they've missed some opportunities of late, and Rangers are now closing in on them. So what would you say about Aberdeen's form overall, and is there any reason to worry at the moment?
No, I mean, over the course of the season, I don't have any concerns for Aberdeen. The issue is obviously that it looked like they were in such a strong commanding position for second spot that they have now dropped so many points in quick succession, and Rangers have picked them up, that the gap has all but disappeared. So it's almost like a fist fight, neck and neck, and we're not even at Christmas yet. So that's the disappointment for Aberdeen. But in terms of over the course of a season, I don't have any real concern. What's happened here for me, it's just small incremental things that have a huge impact collectively. They've missed a few key players. I think Jack McKenzie's been out, and it's been key. James McGarry's struggled at left back on the whole. And they've had more games in such a short period of time that they haven't had at the early part of the season. And the third thing is they've had more away games, tough games away from home in particular, and then at home off the back of them against Celtic. So the fixture list, as much as we said at the start of the season, was quite kind to them, and they were picking up great results. They were beating the teams in front of them. Then they were really getting some positive results against the top teams in the division as well. Just this little spell here where it's been more midweek games and away from home and missing some key players, that collective issue has led to them dropping, a lot more points than they probably would have hoped for. And the key now is that they just maintain that belief and confidence, because they don't want to be letting this run continue any further than it should. It's not like they've been playing terribly. They've been all right, but they do obviously need to start picking ones up. And I was just going to say, Alex, that game on Saturday was probably the biggest one so far, where you say St Johnstone at home. Yeah, they really should be looking at that as 3 points if they're going to hope to challenge for second.
Go on, Alan.
Michael, do you not think as well, like some of the games that we've covered earlier on in the season?
See this goal, Hutz. This is terrible. Terrible.
I know it is. I mean, look at that for a defence. Like McGarry obviously kicks it off his face. It's not ideal, and it goes to Mackenzie Cut, and it's a good finish. But I just feel like certain times that we've watched them, they were getting that little bit of luck, and they were coming out with the 3 points. But so that's 5 games without a win at this moment in time. They're not just quite getting it. I think that's the difference between the earlier run and now at this moment in time. But they show great character. Duke comes on as a sub. He's aggressive. He wants to go to the byline, cut back, and it's another good finish for Clarkson. So, look, they're still in a good position, but it increases the pressure on them. Yeah. They had a good gap to Rangers. Now it's getting smaller, and it's 2 points now with Rangers with the game in hand. It's dealing with that pressure week in, week out. And as you said, they have had a lot of games to deal with, difficult games as well.
The manager's been praised.
I was just going to say, the 2 goals, Darryl, there are to sum up the small margins. Yeah. The first goal they concede, there's 3 of them round the ball, and they take an eternity to deal with it. They're slack.
It's just sloppy.
They gift the turnover, and then they don't defend it well. And then the goal they score shows that there's still the quality there. I mean, Palaversa, he zips that ball out to Duke. Duke, as Alan was saying, very aggressive, hitting the byline again, and then Clarkson in a very similar position to what he was at Tynecastle score the goal, the goal at Tynecastle. Nice timed run, great finish in the back of the net. So you still see the aspects of what is making Aberdeen, an attractive team, and will continue to make them a dangerous side. But they need to just start shoring things up again.
Yeah, and also they maybe need to start games
better,
or at least if you're playing well, assert yourselves a bit more. Make sure you find a way to get a goal, take the lead, so you're not having to come back all the time. Because Yemi Taline's been praised a lot, Michael, for the changes he's made. Alan mentioned there, Duke comes on, makes a difference again. But you could equally say they've scored more goals in the second half than the first. They end matches well, so they look like a fit team who never give in. But they've got to find a way to get it right from the off. So is the team selection always right? Maybe it's an easy question to ask, but is the team selection always right from the off then?
I mean, there's nothing. I wouldn't say there's. I don't think you could ever look at the team selection and go, I'm not sure about that. And I think there's a valid conversation to be had about the middle of the park, because I think, having watched a fair bit of Nielsen now, you're looking at him and going, okay, there are attributes there, but there's other aspects of the game that I'm unsure of.
I thought he was really good against Celtic, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think there's a valid conversation to be had. I'm not dismissing him, but I think Palaversa, for me, is a really, really good football player. You look at the pass that he plays there out to Duke. So I think in certain games, you could be looking to play him a wee bit more often, but he obviously just loves having Sillert Nielsen there just to anchor the midfield.
Yeah. So you're saying games like St Johnstone at home,
exactly,
maybe a chance to have, because they've got a very forward-thinking front four, maybe even one more in midfield.
But Michael, the one thing, he's not scared to change it. If he obviously feels that something's not quite right, or I need somebody a little bit forward-thinking or whatever, half-time he's like, right, I'll make 2-3 changes. There's one thing he's not scared to do, which I like. Well, as a player I would like, personally, getting brought off at half-time, but if he feels that he needs to change something, he'll do it.
You'd like it if somebody else was hooked, just know yourself.
Yeah, just not me, anybody else. If we need to change it somehow, I'd use somebody else, just not me.
He's mincing for me.
He's not defending. Get him back.
He's not helping me. Take him off.
I need someone to do some running for me. Let's get on to Rangers. We'll talk about their right back again in just a moment, as we seem to do at least every few weeks. It was another good victory against Ross County in Dingwall, where, as you know, they've come unstuck before.
Yep.
They're on a better run right now. Would you go as far as saying the tide has turned, Alan?
Well, I hope so. Genuinely, this is one of the first times that we've sat here and I felt confident speaking about Rangers at this moment in time. So I genuinely hope so. I think 3 clean sheets in a row, the performance against Kilmarnock midweek, scoring 6 goals again. I think the slight change in formation, which we spoke with Scott Arfield about many weeks ago, but just having Raskin there and the forward players being allowed. But for me, it was the movement. It's like the front four, the way they change, they're running forward, they're coming short. There's a lot more to them at this moment in time to break down stubborn defences, if you want. And I think going to Ross County, as we've mentioned, is always a difficult place. They've got a good record at home, so I thought it was going to be tough. From a Rangers point of view, I think it's good to get that early goal. Igaman gets, it's a slight deflection, but he's been on real form at this moment in time. He plays with a freedom. He wants to take players on. Look, one thought in his mind is, can I get a shot off? It looks like it takes a slight nick, but the way they showed that they can play against Kilmarnock, bringing it into this game, look, this is a real poor goal to lose. Hamilton here gets caught in the ball, Danilo, and it really flattens him after that. It's 2-0 going into half-time, and you always think, from a Ross County point of view, it's going to be difficult. And yes, we're going to bring up Tavernier again. I think in recent weeks, especially the Kilmarnock game, I thought he was heavily involved. He was moving forward, he was getting on the ball, he looked like his confidence was coming back. That's now 2-2. But we're going into a huge week.
Remember the week prior as well. I know it wasn't his goal, but he was right there making it happen.
Yeah, but we're going into a huge week now. 2 massive games. And it's going to be really interesting for me to see how the manager approaches it in terms of the formation, the personnel. Is Tavernier keep his place?
Who's your starting right back, Al?
I knew this was coming.
Next 2 games.
Well, I think he'll go with Sterling. All being well and he's fit. I just think his defensive qualities, his pace, that I think that you'll need. We know how Tottenham's going to play. There's going to be all-out attack. Andrew's going to have his team up for it. it's going to be a difficult game. So defensively, I think they're going to have to be solid. So look, he's got some interesting calls. You think Danilo can't play, Hadji can't play, who have been very good in the previous couple of games. So he's got decisions to make.
Who are you supporting?
That was my next question.
You would even have to ask that question. Come on.
Listen, because I know you're there on Thursday, so just in case you're close to the Spurs fans, stay neutral for a wee while, okay? For a wee while.
I know, I'll try to stay neutral, but
well, he's already nailed these colours to the bastard.
There's absolutely no chance.
There's no. Well, I wouldn't have thought there's many Tottenham fans watching, so I'll be all right. I should be fine.
This will go around the internet now.
Probably.
Oh, the simple thing you need to say was you'd be supporting the Scottish team, coefficient.
Yeah, well, exactly. So it's simple as that.
Want
all the Scottish teams to do well. Want all the Scottish teams to do well.
And he's always going to back Rangers in that game. That's the truth, given the history and everything, Alan. I'm sure it's the case. Listen, it's a massive game all of a sudden, especially from, not just from Rangers' point of view, from Spurs' point of view as well, because they collapsed against Chelsea at the weekend, having been 2-0 up. Big Ange is hearing it from some of the fans as well, as we get a question in from Karen here. As the games come fast and furious, it's going to be a deciding factor for all teams in Europe. Absolutely. Next 3 games are huge for Rangers. They've got points on the board as far as Rangers are going. We'll come to Hearts in a minute. That's a massive game for them against Copenhagen. And huge, obviously, as we've said, for Celtic in Zagreb on Tuesday. But for Big Ange and Spurs, Alan, after the weekend, a lot of eyes on him. So this return that's been sort of heralded back to Glasgow for quite some time now comes with a totally different pressure.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think down there, the style of football that he plays is very gung-ho, and that's just the way, as we've seen it when he was at the Celtic manager. But Spurs have been crying out for a trophy or something for a long period of time now, and they're desperate for it. And when things aren't going their way, the fans will let you know. It's quite as simple as that. And there's been a lot of questions asked, does he have a plan B? No, he needs to do plan A better. That's his philosophy, and it's not really going to change. But to be up 2-0 at home against Chelsea, look, and they are a great team. They could put out 2 teams if they really want.
They have almost in Europe.
Exactly, but to collapse the way they did, the fans are going to let you know. So it builds the pressure moving on to this game. They would expect to come up here and win, but if Rangers can keep them quiet, you never know. But look, I feel more confident at this moment in time going into this game than I did a few weeks ago. So look, hopefully it'll be a cracking game, but it's going to be an interesting one.
Are you also confident for next Sunday, Al?
Yeah.
So do you see let's we'll make sure we play this back next week, Michael, just in case. Do you see 2 positive results coming this week, Al?
Well, I truly hope so. The interesting one is, they've got a huge game on Thursday. Danilo can't play, Hadji can't play. I would expect they two to come back in at the weekend, because the style and formation and everything they've been playing recent weeks has definitely worked. Am I more confident? Ever so slightly, yes. But again, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm in a better place right now looking at it than I was, say, 2 weeks ago.
Well, Rangers are in a better place as well. And just on Hamza Igeman, he's come in, he's made a real impact, played well against Nice too. He strikes a good ball. You can see that. I know the first goal at the weekend takes a nick, but it's a lovely connection. Same against Kilmarnock. Yeah.
But see what he gives you. I know at certain times when he's played up front as a lone striker, if you like, I think he moves about too much. Where in this style of play that they're playing at this moment in time, everybody's moving, everybody's searching on the ball, they're making runs in behind, and it's difficult for defences. Where Dessers is more kind of static player, I would say. So it's working. I think he plays with a freedom, as we can see. He wants to get shots off. So some interesting picks coming up for places.
Are you suggesting, Al, that at times Dessers doesn't run around?
No, not that he doesn't run. He's a willing runner, but I just think he's more of a number 9 where he wants the ball maybe into him, he wants to play off people, whatever, where I think Igeman will actually move around the pitch. And if he's got the likes of Hadji, Danilo, Czerny, these guys all running about, running off him, making moves, I think that makes him better.
Yeah. And to be fair, look, there have been games recently where Dessers hasn't been involved that much, and it's cost him his place. And Igeman is.
Well, comes off the bench. He comes off the bench against Kilmarnock and scores too. Yeah. So we know he can score, and it's not. I'm not downing him. It's just a different way of playing at this moment.
Yes, it is, and it's working. And Philippe Clement needed something to work. It's working for now. Michael, let's move on.
Michael laughing.
Yeah, listen, I was going to ask Michael about the weekend, but what's the point, quite frankly? What's the point?
I'm still just trying to come to terms with Alan's convincing confirmation of what's going to happen next week.
Anything
I don't want to get ahead of myself too much. I'm keeping it just here, just to myself, and then we'll see what happens.
Anything could happen this week, Michael. Right, let's move on to the Jambos. Michael, you were also watching their game at the weekend. Good win against Dundee. They needed that win. Lawrence Shankland needed goals. We discussed him a lot on the show last week. He got 2, and that ends that barren run. Interesting, actually, when we take a look at this game. Interesting hearing from Shankland after the game, Michael, some of his comments, because I think the perception was that none of this was really affecting him. That's, I think, what he was trying to let all of us believe. Yeah. And he was saying that he thought he was playing well. But I think the comments maybe after the game suggest that it was getting to him a bit. He's talked about the fact he's been working with a mentality coach for the last 4 years as well, which is looking impressive because he wants to take his career, his own game, to another level. But he needed this. And I think the fans that were doubting him as well, they needed to see it as well, didn't they, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it just benefits everybody, of course. I mean, scoring goals is the most important and difficult part of playing football. And Hearts, really, to a great extent, have all their eggs in one basket with somebody. And it really just wasn't happening. So if you're playing in a football team and your goal scorer, your only real goal scorer, isn't scoring, it puts so much pressure on the rest of the team. Now, moving forward, Hearts have obviously got to try and find somebody else, 1, 2, 3 other people to potentially try and do that. But at this moment in time, they have what they have. And Lawrence Shankland scoring goals changes things dramatically because for a great part, a lot of the games that we've seen in the last couple of months, performances generally have been pretty good. And Saturday, the performance was very good.
Yeah.
And then when you add in 2 good goals from Lawrence Shankland as well, it creates an all-round perception of a good performance. Whereas when you don't score the goals, even though the performance is good, you're still going to be focusing on negatives to a certain extent. You're still going to be focusing on and scrutinising other things. You score goals, you win games, and all of a sudden it changes the narrative completely. So for
Michael,
Lawrence
Penrice coming back in made a difference after suspension.
Good, very good. But that's one part of the game that we've spoken about before, that you can start to see the semblance of what is being done at Hearts. That left-hand side, the combination, the link-up between Spittle and Penrice is clear for all to see. It continually happens. And it's 2 good players now feeding off of each other. You know, Spittle plays naturally just off the inside. Penrice wants to get forward all the time. And the combination between the two is very effective. Now when you've got somebody like Shankland who can score goals again. So there's aspects of the team that are coming together. There's still clearly other issues, but winning games buys you time to be able to fix them. And I've got to say as well, Craig Halkett came in last week against Aberdeen with the terrible injuries that happened. I gave him man of the match last week because I thought he was outstanding, even though he'd come off the bench. Started to look like he was feeling it a wee bit. Good to see that he was able to play again. And he brings physicality to the Hearts team that generally lacks physicality. So I'd like to see when Frankie Kent is back fit at some point, I'd want to actually see the two of them playing next to each other. And hopefully, big week coming up. I'm going to be interested to see what Neil Critchley does, because you didn't want to be overburdening Craig Halkett because he's not, he's only just back in. He's not played loads of football, but it's a difficult one to judge, who plays and how often are you going to get, or how much you're going to get out of Craig Halkett specifically.
Because Copenhagen is a huge game in Conference League terms. I know they've got that home game to come afterwards, but you want to stop the rot in Europe right away, get the points on the board, and who knows where you can finish in that league phase in the Conference League. So a massive game. I'll come back to that in just a second with you, Michael. But just on Shankland, I did have a bit of a giggle to myself this week, Alan. It's not often I laugh these days, but I did laugh because a week ago the headlines were, no chance, he's lost his opportunity of a big move. He's never going to end up at Rangers. He scores 2 goals the weekend. The next day, the headlines were, the move could be back on. I mean, look, it's a huge point in his career, isn't it, these next few weeks? Because they might just determine an awful lot.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you that he's been playing decent. I mean, he's been working hard. He's been getting into the right areas. It's just not been falling for him. I was so happy, honestly, to see him scoring 2. because I did feel at the game that we done, he looked as if he had a weight in the weight of his team on his shoulders. And I think it's very unfair with the players that they have. Others need to chip in, as Michael said. It can't just be left down to him. They're in this position because of him. So he's going to go through a barren spell. So I was so happy to see him scoring the two goals, and hopefully can kick on from there. And I'm sure whatever happens at the end of the season will be down to him playing well.
You know, see, it's interesting when you're talking about Lon Shankland's comments, because his performances generally had been very good, but I do think the Cercle Bruges game was a real turning point in regards to, we spoke about this already, the reaction from the supporters was bang out of order, and I do think that the performance against Aberdeen, like Alan was talking about, was the first one where it really looked to me like it was affecting his overall performance. He miscontrolled a few, he's still caught on his heels quite often, so it was brilliant to see. The next game, obviously Dundee there, he's come out, banged two in, and all of a sudden there's a couple other opportunities. There's one in the
second. Tried to be dink.
Yeah, skips past a few players, tries to dink the goalkeeper. That tells you, it shows you confidence flooding back. There's a documentary on Netflix just now called The Turnaround. It's only be half an hour thing, and it's about baseball. And this boy that got signed, world class apparently, signed for hundreds of millions, the Philadelphia Phillies, and he couldn't hit the ball. He was having an absolute nightmare. He was a batsman, and everyone was writing him off. He started getting booed off the crowd, and all of a sudden it got to the stage where it was like, we need to actually show him some love. And then smashes a few home runs, and he went on the best run of his whole career. And you wouldn't put it past Lon Shankland now to go.
Do you know what? I've not seen the documentary, but I've read the story. Is it Chase Utley? I can't remember who it is. But anyway, you're right, because when he was at his lowest point, the fans all called for him to come out the dugout, give him a massive round of applause, almost to say, we believe in you and everything else. Sometimes maybe in your career you need that sort of thing to turn around. So anyway, good point, Michael. Are you looking forward to your trip? Nice trip you've got midweek in Copenhagen?
Absolutely, yeah, lovely. Yep. Looking forward to Hearts potentially getting some points on the board here, because as you said, put the European, sort of qualification to bed. Don't want to leave it to the last game against Petrokub. And then it's massive for Hearts to qualify at the league stage. 2 more games potentially in a playoff. And then you just don't know what's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to it. And it is definitely a game, as we saw with Kilmarnock earlier in the season. It's a game that Hearts can get something from. Yeah,
absolutely. And apparently they've had to put Michael on per diems now, Alan, because his expenses have been outrageous so far this season. He's on per diems as he heads to Denmark, which is expensive anyway. Dundee, also a bit hot and cold. Excellent the game before when they banged in 4, and then maybe a little bit cold against Hearts, but maybe that's down to the way Hearts played. We'll talk more on Dundee next week, perhaps. On to Dundee United against Kilmarnock. A few concerns about Kilmarnock. A team obviously quite close to your heart as well, Alan, as you've said on this show. A few concerns because Rangers won very easily against them at Ibrox midweek, and I think that certainly upset a few of the fans. The question marks over the effort of some of the players, the nature of the defeat certainly was brought into question. It was really important that they scored late and picked something up against Dundee United at Tannadice, I felt, Alan, just to stop the rot, if you like.
Yeah, well, I think it's 6 games without a win, and off the back of conceding as many as they did at Ibrox. I know it was the second half, most of the goals, I think it was 5 of them. It was important that they did get something, because just where they're sitting, the amount of goals that they've conceded, the highest in the league, it's like 34. It's not ideal. It's not good reading moving forward. So to get something against Dundee United, which is, look, it's a hard place to go. They're in good form themselves. I mean, a team that's just come up from promotion are flying high at this moment in time, but did
you have this down as a penalty, Alan? I mean, Sam Dalby, I've heard him talk about it, and he says he's been smashed in the head.
I think, look, O'Hara's coming out there to challenge for the ball. Dalby goes up to try and make contact. I think it's just one of those where the goalkeeper just doesn't quite get there. It's not for me. Babinski here, look, I think that O'Hara needs to try and parry it wide. Dalby goes in on the rebound, gets a good goal. But I think then Kilmarnock could easily kind of heads down type thing, but I think they showed good character to get back into it. I mean, me personally, I think it's on the soft side. It does catch him.
It's not on the soft side. It's not on the
Wales
soft
on the foot. So you think it's not a penalty?
It's a stone waller. It's not on the soft
You
side.
think?
He takes a full
Look,
smash
the
at the
ball's
ball.
away. Like, I just feel Will's got the ball there first. It's not even went anywhere. There's always going to be some sort of connection. I just think it's a little bit different. Maybe if it was planted, he's leathered his foot. I don't know, but I don't know. I think it's soft.
See, I know I go back to it, but when you're watching on a small screen in the business class seats, you might not have got the perfect view of it.
Are we always going to go back to this?
But when you see it on a proper...
It was first anyway.
Oh, sorry, aye. So they've got the big screen. Well, you should see it. You should have known. But when you get...
Honestly, use lot or something else.
when you
Premium economy, okay. Let's move on.
When you see it on the big screen, he leathers the bottom of Bobby Will's foot. And it's clear as day. Like, the fact it's a full swing. And I heard Jim Goodwin talking about it, and I can understand his grievance with it, with regards to the penalty last week.
Yeah.
Kevin Holt, he said, was kicked in the calf. Now, I've got to be honest, when I saw it, I thought the difference was he wasn't kicked. To me, he was touched. You know, there's a big difference here.
I see your point.
There was no force in the kick last week, and it was on the bottom of the foot. This one, it's a full swing. It's 100% a penalty.
Jim's having some fun with the referees and VAR at the moment, isn't he, Michael?
He is.
Last few games.
He is indeed. I mean, look, I'm not going to, rewind to last week, but there was a few decisions, obviously, at Tannadice that were far from correct. But that one there, I think, was 100% a penalty kick, and it was massive for Kilmarnock.
But do you not think sometimes, like, Michael, as a footballer, let's see there. So he gets the touch on the ball doesn't really go anywhere. Obviously, the defender's trying to clear the ball, and he does catch him. But I just think sometimes there's always contact at some stage. We talk about pulls. Is it long enough? Touches, is it hard enough? I just think because the ball didn't really go anywhere, he wasn't really in control of it. I'm not saying that it's not. I just thought it was soft. That was all.
Opinionated Glaswegian with a comment there. Look, I'm going to be honest. I'm with OG here. And the point he's making, because if you're saying that one's a penalty, Michael, and I heard what Jim Goodwin said as well, but Dalby, he wins the ball. The goalkeeper doesn't win the ball.
It's not a punch.
Yeah, but the goalkeeper connects with the striker.
So is that not technically like the other one, except
exactly
he's going for his head? So
I can see Jim Goodwin's point here as well. If you come out and you miss the ball, Michael, and the striker gets the ball and he gets walloped in the side of the head, and Dalby's done an interview about it since as well, you don't think that's a penalty? So
if you look at it again, right, if, as you described, had happened, then it would be a
clears them straight out, as in he just clears them out.
He connects with them.
The goalkeeper comes out, and there is contact, yes, but this is what Alan's talking about. Not every contact is a penalty. He comes out to flick the ball almost, and he flicks past Dalby. He doesn't come out and punch him. If he did, then 100%.
If he comes straight out and bang, he clears them out as a penalty. But what I'm saying is, that's why I went back to saying all contact isn't necessarily a penalty. So it's kind of subjective how you look at it. Was that one enough? Was the other one enough? The kick on the sole of the boot? So it's how you look at it.
I've said this many times down the years, Michael. The problem is the consistency. And this is why Jim Goodwin's so angry at the moment. By the way, his team are still doing really well, still picking up points this season. Excellent start to the campaign, but it could have been better. And it's the inconsistency that he is banging on about at the moment, because one week you get those kind of decisions, next week, no chance, people are saying.
Last week, I was saying that there weren't any penalty kicks for Dundee United because the contact wasn't enough. And that's the same there. Like, if you look at that, the goalkeeper O'Hara comes out and he just flicks at it. Yes, there's contact, but when you've got two players jumping and challenging for a ball, you're going to get contact. Yeah. That's it. If the goalkeeper comes out to punch the ball, punch it, not flick it away, and he misses the ball and hits the attacker, penalty kick all day long.
But you see here, it's all subjective.
Yes,
we've looked at it a million times, and we could still sit here and say, yes, that's a penalty, or that's a little bit more contact than this one. So look, it depends how you look at it, and that's why it's difficult to be consistent. You think of the refs and everything.
I think we've convinced them, though, Alan.
I'm still with OG, by the way, and that's not a burner account. I've just messaged that in.
He's seen the
bet.
Right, one more game to get through here, Michael. Motherwell, who we praised a lot early parts of the season, but all of a sudden they could have done with the win. They got it in dramatic fashion late in the day as well. Also stops the rot for them.
Yeah, definitely. Not the greatest of games at Paisley, but
we don't have many highlights.
No, for Motherwell, it was a big goal late on.
What about this decision though, to send Gogic off, second yellow card, and obviously the free kick leads to the goal?
See, for me, I mean, it's irrelevant because it's so late in the game, but he's going to miss games. I just don't. Yeah, okay, it's a foul. It's not a second yellow for me. It's just not. This is really poor defending. Really, really poor defending.
But that's where he'd probably be. He'd be in that area. There's a Gogic as in. There's a good chance that he'd be somewhere around about there. But
well, I mean, possibly you can make the case for it. But there's still a defender that's marking Tony Watt, and he runs off the back of him. Right, he's inside the 6-yard box. It's a good ball from, I think it's Lennon Miller that puts it in.
Yeah.
But the defend, that's what Stephen Robinson, I would imagine, will be so disappointed about. That late on, defensively, just concentrate, just mark your man. To me, it looks like the boys just ball watching, and Tony Watt runs off his back, and all of a sudden, the ball's in the back of the net, balls burst, game's lost.
Yeah. Gogic, balls burst for Gogic by then as well. Alan, I just don't understand it. I'm with Michael
it's
here.
A shame.
To give him a second yellow card for that, the player is running away from goal as well.
Exactly. That's a big thing for me. Like, so if he's going directly towards goal and he's in front of him and then he clips him, yes, absolutely. But Gogic is actually matching him kind of stride for stride, and he cuts across. There's not a great deal he can do. He can't move out the way. Yep. So I think given the foul would be enough. The first yellow card, I get the one on the floor when he kind of grabs him, he hooks his feet round him, yellow card, no problem. But the second one, you're going away towards the corner flag. It's not any danger. I think that's harsh. And moving forward, he's a big player for them. So I think for him to miss a game or whatever it is, I think that's the difficult part to deal with.
And obviously they can't appeal it. It's 2 yellows. So
yeah, exactly.
And this is something I just wonder in time, Michael, will change with VAR when it's a game-changing moment like this. I wonder if a manager will get a chance to review like they do.
Fling on a flag. Get a flag on. Get a flag.
That's not what I said.
But listen, you would like a review because we've got VAR anyway. So why not give somebody an appeal or something that you can maybe save a game from a decision like that happening?
At the outset, forget about reviews, appeals, or anything like that. Just simple across the board, second yellows, VAR get
reviewed.
VAR get involved. And
it's IFAB though, isn't it?
The counter argument to that I heard from people was, well, what about if the first yellow's dodgy? And I can hear that and understand that, but the system is always going to have flaws in it. Yeah. But as you've just pointed out, we have an ability to look at things again. So as imperfect as things are, I think it would be better because we've seen on many occasions where a second yellow card, you're going, that's never a second yellow. Yeah. Just look at it again. And it avoids somebody getting sent off.
You can't look at everything, and that's why I was suggesting. I know maybe it's a bit silly and it's a bit American sport, but maybe having an appeal per game.
No, but Michael's on the right track. I think that if you only were to look at the second yellow where it becomes a red card, just look at that one.
That's an easy answer, Al. I was trying to dig a bit deeper, make the game a wee bit more
throw a flag on.
You. Let's try and mix it up.
Why avoid the easy things? Come on.
Just stick with easy things. Don't make it overcomplicated.
Because
it's easy. Do
the exact point that you made, that if you start looking at second yellows, people say, "Oh, you should be looking at first and all that."
But that one doesn't come into it. I know we're only talking it over here, but that would be the rule. It's only the second one. Like, so you can't say, but the first one was softer. We're only going to look at the second yellow, which makes it a red.
I'm giving the managers, a little flag. One appeal per match.
Just somebody stand with something just on the side of the pitch.
I'll be getting strikers. Like
waving a white flag. Just wave a white flag. I'm not having that.
We're trying to improve the game. We're making it worse. Right, we're almost out of time, Michael.
You're making it worse.
Yes, I'm very aware of that. Very well. Michael, Premier Sports Cup final. Looking forward to it next Sunday.
Big time. Yeah, really, really looking forward to it. And there's just that wee murmur of hope from that top corner of the screen there. Confident. Yeah. And I think that sums up football. A month ago, when Celtic were smashing the goals past Aberdeen, Rangers were sort of creeping past Motherwell. All of a sudden, it was like, oh, I'm not sure we even want to play the final. Now, things just start to slowly
He's
build
been
up.
in Vegas, though. He's been in Vegas since then. All bets are off. That's for sure. What time are you on here, Michael? Come on, I know you know your stuff. What time are you on?
On Sunday, 3 o'clock.
Yes. 3 o'clock. There you go. Don't miss it. The Old Firm at Hampden Premier Sports Cup final. We're looking forward to that. Guys, we're out of time again. Alan, Michael, thank you very much. Alan, go and get the sunglasses back on. Get some more sleep. And we will see you next Monday on the Social Club. Bye for now.
The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.